Okay, I have a confession to make. I have all of these tools in the Unnecessary Studio, and I rarely design products that actually solve a problem for me, but today that changes, like this part right here. It's something that's super simple, and it probably only took me an hour or so to design and print, but it solves one very specific problem I have. Let me show you. You see, every single morning when I get to the Unnecessary Studio, I tend to just take my backpack off and drop it here on the ground. The only issue is that during the day, I tend to not be paying attention and easily trip over it. So now with this new product I designed, I just gotta drill this hook right to the bottom of my desk, and I have the perfect place to put my backpack. Okay, I designed a hook, not that exciting, but the other inventions, we're gonna do some more 3D printing, we're gonna do laser cutting, we're gonna do CNC, a little bit of electronics to really start personalizing this brand new space. And the first one we have, see that right there? Right there. Okay, a little bit closer, it's gonna be right there. It's right here. It's actually not one problem, it's 13 different problems that we have in the new kitchen. My new kitchen cabinets have no pull, so I have to like awkwardly reach underneath them and try and grab them. I need something to grip and rip and open up every single one of these cabinets we have here. And I already know exactly what I want to do to customize them, and it's gonna tie everything in so perfectly together. Because it's something that I stare at every single day, and that's 3D printer filament rolls. So basically, I want to take one of these filament rolls and design it to look exactly like a miniature version of it, so right here on the handle, I'd be able to grip it and open it up. So let's create a 3D model for it. I already have a general idea of what I want it to look like inside of my head. Obviously, I want it to look like this filament spool, but we're gonna make a few changes so that it looks nice on the cabinet. So into Fusion 360. So my other idea is that I want all of the different cabinet pulls to be made out of a different filament, so it kind of looks like my filament rack that I have there of all the different colors. So I want to kind of have it have a little bit of an effect that there's different spools of filament going inside of there. And you can actually see all the individual strands. And with that, we can go on to the top, and the one thing I want to do a little bit differently is making it see-through so that you can also see the color of the filament when you're looking directly onto the thing itself. So we'll add a little bit of filament there and then duplicate that so that it's sandwiching it on the top and the bottom. Next, we need to add a little peg so that it sticks a little bit off of the cabinet. That way you have a little bit of space mixed inside of there, and that way you'll be able to actually grab onto it and it's not flush with the cabinet itself. And inside here, I'm gonna add a little bit of a thread so that way the screw actually screws into the 3D printed parts. And the very last effect that I wanna add to it is that along the top, I'm gonna add those indentations into it so that you still get that effect again when you're looking directly on it, that it looks like each individual roundup of the filament itself. And if we add a little fillet to each of those, it should be looking pretty good. But now that we've got ourselves a final design, let's use this same green filament and get these loaded up onto the printers and see what the first one looks like before we start using all of these different colors to make the different cabinet pulls. I designed them with relatively tight tolerances. They should hopefully just all snap into place. I mean, check it out. Look how good this miniature filament spool looks. I did the inside of it white so that it hopefully blends into the cabinet so that it looks a little bit better. But you wanna know what looks even better? Them in a whole bunch of different colors. And I'm making a mess. But I got a full spectrum of colors printed so that it really looks like my filament rack up on the cabinets. And the only thing left we need to do, get it installed back there in the kitchen. I also made one other thing that's gonna make this job a whole lot easier. And I'm sure that you can buy them, but I made this little jig that goes perfectly into the corner of my cabinet, so when I drill the holes, all of them line up across all of the different ones. I put on these first two just to double check that everything was looking good, and once that was done, I went across all of my different cabinets and drilled all of the pilot holes. I also made another jig that was useful for the drawers, so I went ahead and made sure all of those were perfectly centered. Now I just had to decide where I wanted all the different colors to go. I didn't really have much of rhyme or reason of which ones were gonna go where. I just didn't want similar colors being right next to each other. But once all of them were installed, I was really happy with how it was looking. And I think these came out looking so good. All of the different colors look great, super functional, they do what they're supposed to do. And now I don't have to do the awkward thing of trying to reach in here or pull on the side to open it. They all just open up just like they're supposed to. But the next thing I want to create for the studio, I'm not quite sure where I actually want to put it, so maybe I need your guys' help on like figuring out where it goes. But big announcement. I made a brand new logo for Unnecessary Inventions, debut.
Wow.
But I don't really know like when I ever need to use a logo, but I made one. Unnecessary logo is unnecessary. But it does give us an opportunity to shoot some laser beams in the Glowforge. I picked up this massive blue acrylic sheet that we're gonna use for the background, and then for the letters we're gonna do some white acrylic. So I went ahead and got that giant piece of blue acrylic loaded up into the Glowforge, and we're gonna be using the pass-through feature to make the sign oversized. Once that was loaded in, I went over to my computer and I got the files all set up so that it would cut in multiple passes. Once it was ready to go, the laser beams were firing away. It's really hard not to just stare at it in awe. But once that section's done, you just slide the piece of acrylic just so that it lines up a little bit more, you hit the button, and things go off to the races yet again. Then you just continually repeat this process over and over until the entire logo is fully cut out of the Glowforge and it's looking great. Then it was time to move on to the white acrylic, and I had it just cut out all the different letters in no particular order, whatever just fit best on the sheet itself. Until it was time for satisfying ASMR pull of the masking tape, all in one go. One hack that I got actually from the CEO of Glowforge. You take a piece of duct tape, and then you can more easily take off all the different parts of the masking tape. He was watching one of my videos once and saw me individually painstakingly take it off, and the next day in the mail I had like 20 rolls of duct tape delivered to my studio. But these letters are looking extra crispy. We just gotta do the rest of it. You might be able to just barely tell, but I etched all of the letters into the blue background just a little bit, and it's smaller than each of the letters, so that way when I go to put each of these letters on, I know exactly where it needs to go, and I can line it up hopefully somewhat straight. And like I mentioned before, I'm not really sure yet where I want to put this sign. You know, maybe I could put it somewhere over my desk, I could put it over the arcade machines, I could put it in the entrance lobby. There's definitely a few different places that I could put it, but comment down below if you have a better idea of where it should go in this whole space. And just because I have those outlines, I'm still not fully convinced I'm gonna put all of these on nice and straight. I think they came out looking so good. I love that little 3D effect we get with the white sitting on top of the blue. And another relatively practical invention in the books. The next one might be the most unnecessary of all the ones we're gonna create today. Because this one is solving a little bit of a pet peeve I have being by myself here in the studio every single day. You see, in the new studio, I got myself a ping pong table, and of course, everything that I need to have to play ping pong. But you would not believe the amount of times I just hear all throughout the day because one of these ping pong balls decided to fall off the little shelf that they sit on. So I need to build an all-in-one ping pong accessory holder that's gonna sit right here so I never hear that ping pong ball dropping over and over and over. And I knew for this build I was gonna have to be a little bit more precise and get the exact dimensions of all the different ping pong accessories so that I could hop into Fusion 360 and start designing this product. And as the evil genius I am, of course I'm using the trackpad to create some 3D models. But once I was satisfied with the final design, I sliced it up with some really fun colors in Bamboo Studio. But when this thing said it was gonna take 9 hours to print, I thought, all right, let's get these printers set up so they could print well through the night, and I'll come back tomorrow. And now it is officially tomorrow, and there's one thing I need to do before we check in on the print, how it did overnight. Of course, I gotta put my backpack on my brand new hook. There we go. Look at that beauty. I mean, the real test is gonna be if everything actually fits inside of all those compartments. However, the last finishing touch that it needs is these little rubber feet, because I definitely don't want it sliding around when it's on there. Okay, last one. Now we can go check to see if everything fits inside of here. I still have the one ping pong thing sitting over here. The moment of truth. Uh-oh. No, we're good. We're good. Where are the balls? Ball drop test. It fits like a glove. Of course, in this process, I lost one of the ping pong balls. It must have fallen off the table at some point, and I cannot find it. I guess I'm just gonna have to go buy some more. But on to the next build. And the final thing that we're gonna be building today is actually an upgrade of that sign right there. That sign right there, that neon sign. You remember that sign used to be in the window of my old studio, but I thought it was just too small because the windows we have now, God, I gotta do the exposure again. The windows I have now are just like way too big, and that sign would look way too small in those windows. Because along with that long unnecessary inventions logo I showed you earlier, we also have like a little individual UI combination logo that I also created, and I want to update this logo in that neon sign big enough to fit in those windows. And this is the very first thing I ever used on a CNC machine, and it took me like 4 hours to do. And that's what we're gonna be using today, is a CNC machine to cut out the plastic and then put in the neon rope to make that sign for those windows. Hopefully it goes well. Let's give it a go. And I picked up this oversized square piece of acrylic that we were gonna use for the project. I just had to get the backing off and it was ready to go. Get out of here. It was ready to go inside of the CNC machine. I made sure to clamp it down really good before zeroing it out and getting it perfectly set up so I could turn it on, and it was off to the races, cutting away the material. I was kind of nervous and I was just pacing around the entire time for like the hour and a half it was happening. However, when it was done, I was able to breathe a sigh of relief because it was looking super fantastic. I just had to get it out of the frame itself and it was ready to go. It came out good. It came out looking so good. And it's definitely the size that I want it. It is so much bigger. So basically I cut this little channel in here that the neon rope is gonna be able to go inside. And my hope is that it slides right into place and holds the logo and it looks good from the window. It's not all that exciting right now because it's not lit up. Let's go ahead and light it up. And to get things started, I got the blue neon rope that we were gonna use for the outside border, and I slowly just started super gluing that into the channel all the way around the entire sign. I went ahead and I wanted to do a quick test to make sure everything was working and it lit up perfectly, because now I had to start soldering the next section of it together. I had to solder a wire to both the positive and the negative, making sure I remember exactly which one was which, so that way I could feed the wire down through the back, and then it was gonna have to come up and out to the top of the eye. And here we were gonna change the color to white, so I cut along the dotted line where it says you can cut. I got that cut off and slowly started soldering the next section of connecting the blue wire to the white wire. And I honestly had little faith in myself, so I wanted to do a double check to make sure everything worked. The dot of the eye is now lit up. So then I just had to do the exact same thing but for the rest of the U. So I got them soldered, got it super glued all together. I don't know if I'm built for this practical stuff. It is exhausting. I'm so much better at the unnecessary things. But everything is fully wired up, as you can see, for the new neon sign. Now we just have to do the final plug-in test. Did I screw up any of the electronics? Look at that. Go ahead and set the scene. But look at that. Would you look at this neon sign? I think for my very first attempt, it came out pretty good. For my very first time doing CNC and being just horrible at soldering altogether, this thing came out looking awesome. I've got a handful of other fun projects of things I want to do around the new Unnecessary Studio, so make sure you subscribe to check those out. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and get this set up in the window, and I will see you at the next Unnecessary Invention. See ya!